Okay, hello everyone. Can you hear me? So welcome everyone to come to today's Zero2Hero Hackathon's opening ceremony day. So we're really lucky to have all our guests here today, from BNB Chain and also Emoji and Nathan from our partner Inco. So today, the opening ceremony, our speakers will try to introduce to you first about the hackathon process, as well as about what kind of workshops and other follow-up procedures we will have in the exciting coming few weeks. So for the first week and the second week, we will have a series of tech workshops, which will start very soon after we have this finish this opening ceremony. And before we enter the ceremony, I want to emphasize one first is about our hackathon registration have extended to May 14th. So if anyone here today who haven't registered for hackathon, who just joined this opening ceremony maybe by luck, you can also still scan the code here and register for the hackathon. So to join us today in this amazing trip. So let's get started and. We will have Zoe, the dev lead of BNB Chain, maybe to give you a brief introduction of BNB Chain as well as about the Zero2Hero Hackathon. So welcome, Zoe.
Hello, everyone. This is Zoe from BNB Chain. Thank you, everyone, for participating in this session and join our hackathon. So first, I will introduce BNB Chain as an ecosystem, and then I will have a rundown of this hackathon. So what is BNB Chain? So people know about BNB Chain maybe from BSC, which was called Binance Smart Chain and now called BNB Chain, BNB Smart Chain. So in terms of the whole ecosystem, I will hope to encourage developers building innovation ideas on BNB Chain. So if you can see the chart, and in the center, this is what people know about the EVM compatible chain. And on the left side, we can see the BNB Bitcoin chain, which was called the Binance chain before, which is responsible for staking and the governance layer, which means a lot of majority of the BNB chain is actually staked on Bitcoin chain and it's responsible for the governance for the whole ecosystem. And beyond the BSC, actually, we are now excited to announce that our testnet for BNB Greenfield was live last week, and hope everyone could test on that. So Greenfield is a decentralized data storage network that actually has the native layer with BSC. So basically, with BNB Greenfield, people could have the full ownership of data. They can store, exchange data in a seamless way. And also, giving these ownerships for users, there will be a data economy rising beyond the Greenfield. In the testnet, you can find an interesting SDK that allow the BSC existing dApps to integrate with Greenfield in a very easy way. So by encouraging thousands of dApps who already built on BSC to come to Greenfield, we can grow Greenfield from scratch, but with a huge amount of valuable data and grow this data market. Besides BNB Greenfield, we also have the BNB, the ZK BNB one. Actually, it's the second layer. This the layer 2 solution, and actually, we're very fit for large user dApps who actually urgently need to reduce fees and improve the overall output. So basically, it can reduce a lot of fees, and the fee will be only 10% of the existing BSC one, and it's suitable for the games and high frequency derivatives. And also, we will launch the optimistic rollup actually also this year in Q3. Yeah, that's the overall description of BNB Chain. Then next slide, we can see there's a lot of areas that we can explore. So we believe in the next 3 to 5 years, there will be 1 billion user entering into Web3 ecosystem. So including payments, NFT, DeFi, gaming, metaverse, supply chain, healthcare, DAO, and mortgage. So we'll welcome everyone to build on BNB Chain with even more categories, and we will help you grow your innovative ideas. And then we will describe about the Zero2Hero Hackathon. So basic Zero2Hero is a series, a 6 month series initiative from bootcamp to hackathon to incubator. So we're happy to partner with Encode to give all the series to everyone. So here you can see all the important dates for this second stage hackathon. So already the registration period is ended, but feel free to register if you're still interested. So from April 17th to 28th, we'll prepare a bunch of very useful workshop by our prestigious partners. And this hackathon will last for around 4 weeks for you to build your solution. And you should be able to submit your solution from May 8th to 14th. And it will take some time to review that. And the winner confirmation will be in June, the beginning of June. And then we can see the more detail about different tracks in the next slides. So you see with Greenfield as the most important and interesting track. So we provide 15K price for the first place, and also 6,000 and 4,000 for second and third place. And besides Greenfield, we also welcome DeFi infrastructure, social fi, cross-chain innovation, and NFT and gaming and the metaverse for tracks for people to try. And for Greenfield, actually, we welcome not only the apps, but also the infrastructure and the dev toolings that help to build a whole ecosystem. So so this will be very interesting to explore the new business model that we hope to see. Yeah. And the next one will be all the partners we have for this for this hackathon and incubator. So basically, this is combined, and including Acceler, POP3, Polyhedral, Chainlink, Uniswap, Shorter, Automata, Node Real, Manta, Carve, Blocklist, Particle, 1inch T, Crossbow, and Web3 MQ. So in addition to that, we also have Tencent, Google Cloud, and AWS to join our workshops. So next, you can see the whole workshop schedule. And you can see we'll start with BNB Chain tag, describe about how to build on BNB Chain, how to build on Greenfield, and the AWS Google Node Accelerator will be followed in the next day. So you can see for each day, there will be very intensive workshop session broadcasts for everyone to see. And there will be topics shown to you shortly, and you can see, okay, which one you're interested. Some of our partners also provide decent bounties and the benefits for you to use their solution to build. And it should be very interesting to see how to use both BNB Chain and their solution for new products. And then we will describe about this slide page. So basically, you can see more details on this page, and ask us any questions if you have. Then I will pass to Encode for them to introduce their team and how they will do for this hackathon. Thank you, everyone.
Hey, everyone. My name is Yasin. I will be the program manager for this amazing hackathon. And just wanted to spend a couple of minutes to welcome you all. And just want to say that being here for me and for you as well, I think is a statement. It is a statement to learn, to improve, and to most importantly, succeed. And all of you are putting all the hard work for this to happen. Some of you are coming here from just finished bootcamp, the Zero2Hero bootcamp, which we had hundreds of people participating and honing their skills in order to participate in this hackathon. And we're more than excited to see them and see what they end up building, having worked so hard through the bootcamp. Others are coming in from other hackathons with already some serious experience under their belts. So really excited to see what you end up doing. But in the end, everyone is here for one thing, and that one thing is to build. We're all here to kind of like help the flourishing ecosystem of BNB Chain to grow even more. And each and every ecosystem actually manages to do this only by really hard work from people like you that are willing to spend their time to learn, to improve, and create something new. And again, I cannot wait to see what all of you end up building. And I now would like to introduce our head of programs, Omji Park.
Hello, everyone. Dear heroes, welcome to the BNB Chain Zero2Hero Hackathon powered by Incut Club. I'm Omji, Head of Research and Programs at Incut Club. It's my super honor to welcome you today. As you embark on this journey, remember that heroes are not born. They are made through their actions and determination, which you are coming here to show what you have. This is your chance to prove that you have what it takes to be a hero in the world of technology. In this hackathon, you have the opportunity to go from zero to hero by using your skills, creativity, and passion to build innovative solutions on the BNB chain that can change the world. Every line of code you write, every idea you bring to life, and every challenge you overcome brings you one step closer to hero status. Just like a superhero has a mentor and a trusted sidekick to support them, BNB Chain and we are here to assist you every step of the way. We will provide you with the tools and resources you need to succeed. You can see that amazing partners prepare the workshops to prepare you. They're going to be your mentor to make you hero in the next stage. We will be there to offer guidance, answer questions, provide feedback on your ideas. But most importantly, we will be your biggest cheerleaders, big fan, rooting for you as you work towards your goal. Maybe we are rooting for you more than your parents. Remember that heroes are not defined by their success, winning per se alone. It's the process of overcoming obstacles, pushing your limits, and striving for greatness that truly makes you a hero. It's a little bit cheesy things to say, but don't be afraid to ask questions. Fail, build even something very small, even broken project is fine. Learn from your mistakes. We are here to help you and keep moving forward. In the end, the true reward of this hackathon is not just about the prize, but the sense of accomplishment that comes from knowing what you gave it your all and learn something and create something remarkable and what matters to you. So go ahead, be a hero and show the world what you're made of. Good luck. And let's make this a hackathon to remember. And I'm very, very happy and honored to support you here. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you, Omji. Now, a few words about Encode Club and what exactly we are. We're a Web3 education community. We help devs learn, build, and find their career path in Web3. We've been doing this for several years, and we've had extreme amount of fun helping people like you finding their place in the industry. So how do we do this? We do this with multiple programs. We do a lot of Educate series, open for everyone to come in, study, and learn something new. We do a lot of boot camps on all kinds of languages, making sure that people like you get to hone their skills and then move into hackathons like the one we're doing right now. Hackathons which usually involve a lot of partners, companies that have well-known names from within the industry, allowing you to have a bit of incentive in participation and end up creating something again new and of value. And for those of you that do it that do it really great, we organize a lot of accelerators, which is actually going to be something that will follow up this hackathon as well. And we also help out on the recruitment side by making sure that the most talented of you get to be connected with the best companies out there, so that in the end, we move the whole space forward. Furthermore, we do a lot of support. The support for the duration of the hackathon is going to be in the form of workshops. With the BNB Chain team, we've managed to organize a huge number of workshops with all the sponsors. All of them will be presenting a lot of interesting bits of information and knowledge that you will be able to take and use for the duration of the hackathon in the best way possible, and hopefully end up winning a prize. We have a lot of there will be a lot of technical support. We've made sure that we have representatives from all of the teams, all the sponsors, everyone that will be giving away bounties to be present in the Discord, so that if you have any specific questions, they will be there to help out. The Discord community is really active, so if you've not joined that Discord, please do so, because we will be able to be there. We will be there. We will be able to support you, and if we can't, then we will make sure to connect you with the right person to help you with whatever you're doing. And finally, we do a lot of one-on-ones. Some of you have already had the chance to speak with me. We've had a lot of talks on what the best things to build for the hackathons, how to actually get involved, and how to end up on the winning side. So I will have a calendar to shared with all of you, and we will be able to end up helping you on a one-on-one basis. Furthermore, what happens during the hackathon itself? Most of you, I expect, have registered. If you haven't, please do so. You will be able to form a team. If you don't have one, you are also allowed to participate on your own, but that is going to be for some of you might be harder. Others might actually enjoy it. But again, we really suggest being part of a team. We will be helping you out on this endeavor. So if you don't have a team, please make yourself vocal in the Discord. We will be helping you out to find like-minded people or people with the skill sets that you will be looking forward, so you can create a team capable of delivering something, submitting something in the end. The workshops, as we said, happening starting today, and it will be going on a daily basis. You will be able to hear and listen and learn a lot. So please, if you have the time, make sure to be there. You will definitely be learning a lot. Building your project, one of the most important things, you have 4 weeks to spend. Make sure to use this time to your advantage. Make sure that all of this time is not actually wasted. Make sure that you end up delivering something of value by the end. And submitting is the one thing that you need to look forward to, because that's where the majority of participants fail. So as long as you end up working on something, make sure that you end up submitting it as well. Again, the one-on-one mentorship, something that you will be able to experience. If you're having troubles with what you're building, we will try to connect you with a technical person or directly speak with someone on the Encode team to help you make sure that you end up submitting and be in competition for one of them of the multiple prizes that are being provided for this hackathon. And in the end, the goal again is not actually winning. Winning is like the cherry on top, but submitting is what ends up getting you closer to succeeding in the space. Right. Furthermore, questions that usually are being asked, and some of the things that we would like to address from the very beginning. Who can take part? This is not a hackathon that has any constraints, so everyone can take part of it. Another question was whether or not pre-existing hackathon projects can be used for this one. Usually yes, but you need to make a strong case of what's been done for the duration of the hackathon, that we want to see that you've taken something that you've previously had and made it much, much better, that you've used for these 4 weeks to push your project to the next level. Where does the organization happen? Well, it's the Discord. Discord is going to be the one place whenever you're having any questions, doubts, not sure about when is something happening, or whether what you need to prepare for something. It's the Discord. The Discord is going to be the one place you need to be posting all of your questions. Regarding teams, I already mentioned you are free to work on your own. You're not really you don't really have to work with others if you don't feel like, but if this is a huge event, there's a lot of talented people, a lot of smart people. So my plea to all of you is like, don't waste your time on trying to do alone. Try and network, try and make new friends. These new partnerships might be the things that you go and look back to and thinking, right, well, this is where it all happened. This is where it all started. So try, make some friends, reach out, and I'm sure you will end up having a great time in the end. Regarding questions on like where can you find the most important bits of information, we've already sent to all of you the Hacker Pack, the live Notion page, which contains all the information, which we will be updating as time goes by. If there's something new popping up, it will be posted on that page. It's your ultimate cheat sheet that you can use and use to your advantage. And finally, will there be technical support? As outlined already, we've made sure that we have representatives from all of the sponsors and all the bounty providers within the Discord. They have their dedicated roles. So if you want to look for somebody, they will be on the Discord. So be vocal, post your questions, and you will find answers in due time. Finally, we right now are we can go through what the daily schedule is. The daily schedule is currently we're in the middle of the opening ceremony, which we will conclude with the short Q&A section. But what you can expect after that is going to be several workshops. First of which is going to be the full stack dApp development on BNB Chain, which is going to be by Victor. There will be a small 15-minute break, after which we will continue with the BNB Chain Greenfield workshop, which is going to be by Victor himself again. And we will conclude with the AWS workshop by Benjamin. And lastly, on next steps, things that that you should be doing. If you're not on the Discord yet, as we've outlined, Discord is the one place to be. Please make sure to be on the Discord. If you don't know, links will be shared. Exactly, links will just shared in chat as well. If you want to find teammates, again, Discord is the place to be. Just tell us what you're looking for. Who are you looking for? We'll try and help you out. We've had a lot of calls with a lot of people that have already signed up, so we will be able to point you in the right direction. Given how many workshops we have, each of them has a separate event. Each of them has a lu.ma link. So please refer to the live page, the Live Notion page that includes all of the lu.ma links, and sign up for all of them. You will receive calendar invites for each and every one of them, and you will be able to follow what is happening when through your calendar and conveniently attend all of them. Building your project, that is the one thing to strive for. Again, don't waste your time. There is 4 weeks. 4 weeks sound like a lot, but they pass really fast, especially with great content like the one that the BNB Chain team has lined up for this hackathon. The time will fly. So make the most out of your time and make it the one goal to be to submit. Finally, apply for the BNB incubator. That's going to be something that all of the winners of this hackathon will also get to benefit from. But if you haven't already, if you think that you've a project on the side, something that is way bigger, something that is bigger than this hackathon, make sure to sign up for the incubator, which will follow this hackathon. And yeah, finally, I think we have a few more minutes left, so we can have a live Q&A section. So if you have any questions, post them in chat. And we will try to address them right now.
Cool. I saw some questions while we were talking before, so let's cover that few things first. Many people were asking, will there be a dedicated channel where you can ask sponsors technical questions? Yes. So if you join the Discord server, we're going to have a different announcement channel and the forum. There you can ask technical question and tagging each tag team. Teams engineer is going to be in the server as well, so they will be answering questions to you directly. In case that if you are not getting answered too soon, let us know so that we can send the reminder to the engineer, because please understand they may be in different time zone or they couldn't check the message yet, so we will send a reminder and you will get an answer. And also someone asked that when we can start hacking. So yeah, officially you can start to hack from today. I'm glad to hear that you want to start it right away. That's a great thing to do. Zoe, I think maybe this question could be nice if you can answer. So they were asking, they're interested in using Google Cloud IoT Core for their project. Is it possible?
Yeah, sure. I think Google Cloud is one of our partners for this hackathon, and you can join and use their solutions, and you can also will have the opportunity to talk with Google directly for your solution. They can give you ideas. Definitely, it's a great option.
Exactly. There are going to be workshops, so you must join there so that you can see all the alphas. Yasin, can we enter a project which has 2 different parts to it in 2 different tracks?
Yes, most importantly. So if you, we will in the end make sure that all of these sponsors get a list of the projects that were built for them. So if you end up working on a project which answers more than one bounty, we will have a really detailed form that will allow you to mention all of these details. So in the end, you will be in competition for more than one. So feel free to do so.
Sounds good. And most of things, as all of you saw the Notion pack, perhaps it has all the information there regarding the registration form. If you need to share the link to your teammate, future teammate, workshop schedule, bounties. So please read through, and if you have a question, let us know. There also you can see all the Discord information, such as an Inco Discord server, a BNB server, BNB Chain developer portal is there as well, so that you can check out documentations. So Notion Pack must be the right place, the first thing you should check out. Oh, in the chat, people start already making a team.
Yeah, I saw that as well.
Yeah, that's very sweet. So till next workshop start, I think we have a nice 4 minutes of getting more questions. So people, please feel free to asking questions on YouTube Live so that we can answer. So while people keep looking for the team, I think I saw one question around, but let's share a little bit more. So Zoe, a hackathon is not our last collaboration, isn't it? We have amazing program which is following, which is BNB Incubator. Do you want to share a little bit more about Incubator?
Yeah. So this is we follow the stage for all the project growth from the idealization to really form a projects and all the resources you need to bring in. So basically, if you're already a mature or you already have a team, you have the MVP ready, and you have built for some time, so definitely you're not at the hackathon stage. So you can apply for the incubator directly. And we'll also have guidance that, but also the winners of each track will directly be guided into this incubator for more resources and help grow further your project.
Cool. Yes, and there's another question. What is expected end result for submission? A live website, a presentation?
So a few things that you need to consider. We do not expect to see full-fledged products. That obviously we're not expecting companies. So make sure to not bite off more than you can chew. Make sure that what you end up delivering by the end is a good representation of the idea that you had in mind, of what ideally you set off to build. But make sure, again, to end up submitting something, because a lot of people set off to do something completely really huge, something that is actually impossible to build for the duration of the hackathon, and end up failing to submit and be like, oh, you know what, I actually cannot make this. This was too grand. So take small steps and make sure that by the end of the hackathon, once the submission deadline comes around, you have something to submit, something that is a proof of your initial idea, something that can show the jury what you actually wanted to do. So whether that's going to be just a web page, if it's going to be just a dApp, the extent to which you end up working on it, and the features that you end up highlighting is what will end up matter. So again, it might be just proof of an idea, something that may function in the future. But again, this is a hackathon, and ideas win hackathons. So make sure to have a great one. Make sure to have it working to the as bigger extent as possible, and wow us with what you can build and with what you can imagine. And yeah. As to what requirements we have, you need to have something deployed on the BNB chain, at least testnet. So if that is one of the key requirements. In terms of what can you expect to happen by the end of the hackathon, once you end up submitting, we will have a dedicated jury which will go through all of your projects. Each of them will be evaluated, And again, as I've mentioned multiple times, the jury is well aware of projects that have been used in other hackathons. So make sure if you're using something from a previous hackathon to and show that you've made some progress. And again, once the jury is done with evaluating all of your projects, they will then send invites to a small selection of you, which will be invited to pitch live. Those that pitch live in the hackathon finale event will be the ones that will be in competition for the for the biggest prizes for each of the tracks. And again, the additional prize for all the winners will be to be accepted in the incubator that will follow this hackathon.
Quick things to add. So if you go to the Notion pack, you can see that in the FAQ, how and what should I submit. In that section, you can see like all the basic things you need to submit, such as like your code base must be public so that we can judging on the code, video demonstration, and then like you can add other things which is optional, like a pitch deck or your technical paper if it's applicable. And also, as Yasin mentioned, there's like a few a basic thing you need to keep it in mind. So every project should be functional and available on BNB Smart, like BNB Chain, on the testnet. And another thing is, if you're applying for the Greenfield, then it means that you need to use like their API. And also, when you are writing down, good tip, if you're answering multiple bounties, please write down clearly which features and functionalities are related to each bounty so that we can judge well what kind of things you build through. So I think that's pretty much it. And I guess, Hazel, like we have another workshop speakers coming in soon, isn't it?
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Yasin. Thank you, MG, and thank you, Zoe, for coming today and give this amazing introduction. And we will soon start our first workshop featured our BNB Chain solution architect Victor, who will introduce to you about the general introduction about building on BNB Chain. So let's get started, and we need to say goodbye to our guests today. Okay, bye, and let's have Victor here.
Hi, everyone. Great to be here.
Hi, Victor. Yeah. Hello. So, Victor,
great to be here and great for everyone to participate. Absolutely. So today we have two workshops. One is around general development and just a little bit more about the BNB chain structure, I guess, about the ecosystem, why to choose BNB chain, and what are the benefits, and naturally like what you will be up to. And the second one later on today will be specifically around Greenfield, which is a newly developed decentralized storage. So this is now live in testnet, and we'll get more into specifics of the Greenfield, both as users and also as potential contributors and extenders of different projects. So with that, so when we think about decentralization and the blockchain as an enabler of the decentralization, we are talking about essentially that in the next 3 to 5 years, up to 1 billion people will be the users of blockchain. And here we are not talking about like monkey NFT. We are talking about general use cases. Eventually, you need to think about blockchain as cloud technology 15, 20 years ago, when it just started to appear, initially with AWS and later on with GCP and Microsoft and Azure and everyone else. Similarly, blockchain will dominate the infrastructure of the next technology companies. So currently, there was a lot of like hype, I guess, like different use cases. Some worked, some didn't. A lot of use cases in the DeFi, in the payment, and recently more use cases started to appear with regards to insurances, gaming, metaverse. But when we talk about how to get 1 billion users, naturally we need to think about supply chain, mortgage, healthcare, essentially every product that currently exists in the market as a freemium model, let's say, that people use for free and then pay in some kind of privacy or some kind of data collection. as recently a lot of companies started to move to a pay-per-use paradigm. This now becomes very much fitting the blockchain, where you would pay exactly for what you're using. And this is essentially what gas fees that we all know are exactly built for this. So the blockchain technology starts to be exactly what the current business models start to become. So essentially, and it also becomes mature enough. So we had a lot of iterations of different networks, a lot of iterations of scalability solutions. So this all starts sort of like to converge together. And when we talk about the BNB chain, it already has a lot of traction, and we already see among the top performers, both in the TVL and both in the transactions and daily active users. So BNB chain is definitely leading the user acceptance. So there are more chains, different technologies, but if we talk sort of like where the users go, this is definitely BNB chain. And I guess this is why you also participate in BNB chain event, because this is the network that brings the most traction from the user's perspective. And for you as a project builders, you naturally need users. And so this is why the BNB chain is where it is. So most of it is secure. It's based on the a lot of the technology has been proven. It's already 2.5, maybe 3 years old, and a lot of patches and integrations have it undergone a lot of attention, a lot of attempts to hack. So this all makes it extremely secure and reliable. It is scalable. Later we'll talk about different scalability solutions and what kind of solutions exist on the ecosystem. And it is fast. So due to how it's built, and it has both the fast block size of 3 seconds and also the fast finality. So you can build really fast and responsive applications with the BNB blockchain. And when we talk about reliability, essentially we talk about the downtime. And since inception, since September 2020, there was zero downtime that was caused by some kind of external event that sort of like shut the network down or overflood, anything essentially that would stop the network out of something that hasn't happened gradually and through a maintenance gradual process. We talked about the community. So BNB Chain has the largest largest community, and if you compare it to the other networks, so essentially the number of active users is 3 times of that of Ethereum, of Polygon, 4 times of Solana, and the rest is 10 times. So this is definitely the network where the users are and where you can test out your project in terms of feasibility, traction. As you know, on any project, the law of big number works. So eventually, not everyone will use your project, but some kind of percentage. And the more overall users there are in the networks, your percentage of the users that will use will be just larger. And this is just how the math works. It's also the largest community for gamers in terms of L1, of course, and with the introduction of Ziki BNB, the Ziki rollup, and the Optimistic BNB, the Optimistic rollup specifically for gaming, with the partnership of Cocos Engine. This will attract even more users in the gaming community, and we're also building a lot of features for the gaming specifically, such as account abstractions and gasless solutions. So this all will be specifically targeted for the gamers and for the entertainment and social projects that essentially bring users together to interact with each other, and all this on chain. So what is BNB Chain essentially? So BNB Chain is a EVM compatible network of blockchains. So later we'll get on to it, but the idea is that the smart contract that you have built or building in EVM compatible language, such as Solidity or Viper, or planned to use it on the Ethereum, it is fully compatible on the BNB chain, and thus you can port it easily. And it also supports a variety of SDKs, so you can interact with it either through the mobile application or through the website. So everything is supported, a variety of SDKs and tooling for your project just to interact with it. It's also the largest smart contract blockchain, as you said, in terms of volume, in terms of daily active users. So all this is very scalable by itself as a one, and without tools on top of it, it becomes even more scalable. When we talk about the BNB chain ecosystem, so in the center of it, there is a BNB smart chain. This is our EVM compatible smart contract network. This is where you deploy your smart contract. And also there are different rollups on top of it. So there is a BNB ZK rollup, and there is optimistic rollup. There are different ZK rollups and different optimistic rollups. You can choose among different versions and flavors. There are the ones who support BNB token as a utility token, and there are the ones who support some other tokens. So this is up to you to decide essentially what you feel more comfortable with, and just like the tokenomics of your project. Recently, we have also introduced BNB Greenfield, which is a decentralized data storage network. And what is exciting about it is that you can program your storage from the BNB smart chain, meaning that you can easily create a solution that changes and shares and monetizes data fully on chain. And this is something that didn't exist up until several months before. So this is totally like a new concept in the industry. And naturally, now that it is live, all the applications on the BNB smart chain can now access BNB Greenfield, or like it's totally accessible to everyone. So you don't need to create a new wallet, you don't need to create a new address. This is just became acceptable for all the users of BNB smart chain and all the users of BNB ecosystem as a whole. And this means that if you're building like a storage-centered solution, like for instance, like Dropbox, Google Drive, or variation of those, YouTube's, Spotify's, like anything that is essentially relies on monetized data, because in the end, Spotify is just monetization of a song file. This is what it is from the technology perspective. And this, the connection between the BNB Smart Chain and the BNB Greenfield, the programmability of it, essentially allows it to do this. We also support BNB sidechains, which is for fully customizable features. This is for projects who want to have their own infrastructure, and generally for very large organizations who want who either have some kind of limitations in terms of data crossing or policies, and want to have everything inside their own premises. And we also have a beacon chain for the governance, which serves as the governance layer of the BNB Smart Chain for voting and other purposes. So this is as a whole as a current BNB chain ecosystem, and it naturally evolves more we're adding more and more networks. Ziki rollup has been added just a few months ago. I believe in beginning of winter, and optimistic rollup has been just announced like a few weeks ago. So we are adding more and more networks, more and more solutions to the chain. So definitely subscribe to our channels to track what it is that is currently being deployed and built. There are many tools for the developers. So both as a EVM development, so essentially tooling to improve quality, tooling to improve CI processes. So everything for the developers, and also naturally for the data oracles, for the access to the data of the blockchain, and also for the cross-chain solutions, payment gateways, anything essentially that you need to build any kind of solution. This is very important when you get to the point where you build a program, build a project, gain users, but then you need to some kind of to allow payments, ramping solutions. So all this already exists. Data oracles, if you want weather, if you want DeFi pairs for, I don't know, USD Euro, some exchange rate. So all this already embedded in the network throughout the partners and projects. You don't have to develop things by your own. You need only to focus on your own business model and on your own use case, and not to reinvent the wheel. One thing that is quite unique to the BNB chain is Avenger DAO, and this is a community-driven security initiative based on partnership with the leading security providers, and essentially it provides several services such as Meter Watch and Vault. And how this can be used is that in real time you can have notifications if a particular protocol has been hacked, and if you're interacting with it, you can shut down the interaction almost immediately. And this means that even if your code is 100% proof bugs, which it isn't, but if it has very good quality, you're still not if you have interactions with different, especially if you are in DeFi space, if you have interactions with different protocols that are also susceptible essentially to theft and to exploits, then even if someone else gets hacked, you can be exposed financially to it. And this service allows essentially you to closely monitor your interactions, and both for yourself as a project and for your users. So this is why there are different services, depends on who you are. And it means also that from the moment the hack has been identified, then you as a community project, you get notified about this. And then, as I said, you can close or disable the interaction, or even like shut down the integration with that particular project, and guard yourself from not being exploited as well. And this has helped. This was opened last year, in the end of last year, and has already saved, I would say, even millions of dollars to overall community just by this kind of like service. This is very good and quite unique in terms of feature on the blockchain scale. The last thing that I will discuss is the Greenfield. We will have another workshop for those who decide to participate, but for those who don't, a gist of it is essentially, so the Greenfield is decentralized storage infrastructure. Think about it as another type of IPFS or Filecoin, but it is programmable. So in a way, it is like AWS S3 with the programmability built in. And so what you can do about it is essentially you all fully own the data, and you can control the access to it and monetize the access to it. So essentially, if someone accesses a particular file, you can charge money for this access, and this by itself creates a variety of use cases, both in terms of advertisement, both in terms of entertainment, music, video, whatnot. And this is, I guess, something that is very we are looking for a lot of projects to participate both in the building of the core of the framework, but also as the users of the project. In terms of a little bit to understand where it stands, so we will compare it to the Filecoin and Arweave and StoreJ, which are also decentralized networks. So we can see that it is built on the BNB token. It is fully proof of availability. So essentially, everything's been replicated, everything's been checked if the files are really available. You can program it in terms of access control. You can delete files. So this makes it very, very useful tool. And the most of it is based on multi token of BNB. And it means that the BNB is not particularly exposed to any other domain, as it covers a lot of projects. And this means that also, from your you also get the benefit of the stable token in terms of the utility. The last thing that I wanted to talk about that we currently have is a Zero2Hero program, and this is a 6-month virtual bootcamp which you can apply, and this is essentially a bootcamp where you get more learning and more interact with the community to get to sharpen your skills, to sharpen your business model, and essentially it's sort of like help that we open once in a while to help builders and to talk to them, and essentially to also to get the feedback, what works, what not, and just to bring all the people together. And naturally, from the global overall community, we have different channels that you can communicate, and different languages. And overall, we have 1 million users of active users and over 102,300 applications. So you can definitely look it up. And if you're not a native English speaker, I would like to talk. There are a lot of communities that are for particular language. And if the one doesn't exist on your language, you can also open one. So this is a great opportunity to participate with the other builders and other projects. That would all be all. And if you have any questions, I will be happy to answer. We do have later on another workshop, so we'll use some questions later on, and we can answer those later on. Or if I haven't been able to read it right away, but we'll make sure to post all the questions and all the answers either to the Discord channel or during the next workshop session. Back to you guys. I'm not sure if we have any questions here, but let me look. It is not so subscription. It is we'll get more in the second workshop, but it is it's similar, very similar to AWS, where you pay both on the storage and both on the user, on the traffic. Essentially, the storage that you upload is being calculated how much it takes, and you're being billed on the second, based per second, all the time. So it's the wallet is being deducted by a little bit, like a streaming sort of service. And also, if someone accesses the file, then you can then you pay for the traffic. So how it's different? It is very from the others. It is very similar to the Cloud 2 solution, where you just like it's a dual payment, where you pay both for the storage and both for the traffic. If you don't have access to the traffic, then you don't pay for the traffic. If you have a particular storage amount that you store, you know exactly how much it will take, and the replication and decentralization work sort of like out of the box. So this is why it's much more sustainable model than others in terms of if we take a competitive system where the access to the data is not incentivized, then essentially what you get with is the poor data access. Here, on the other hand, you pay for the data access specifically, so it means that everyone is fully incentivized to provide the best traffic and also like for the availability. So this is why it is it's sort of like pay as you go from that perspective. But you don't have like a monthly recurrent. It's exactly how much you upload or how much you use. This is exactly how much you pay. The BNB Smart Chain is, if we get back to it, BNB Smart Chain is the one that in the middle. This is the network that you are developing on. So this is essentially the network that you upload your smart contract. The BNB chain is everything here. So all the rollups, all the greenfields, all the sidechain, everything sort of like it's BNB chain. So from your perspective, when we talk about L1 and L2, so the BNB BSC, the BNB Smart Chain, the one is in the middle, is the one that is you develop a smart contract upon. This is L1, and the rollups are the L2s. But everything that we see on this slide is a BNB Chain ecosystem. Some people interchange the wording in terms when you upload to or deploy to BNB Chain, but currently what it means is essentially that you deploy to the BNB Smart Chain, as this is the primarily L1 of the ecosystem. But as more and more chains coming up, that may create a confusion. So it's better to use BNB Smart Chain or BSC, whatever. But when you talk about BNB Chain as a whole, usually it is the ecosystem. It's like Ethereum ecosystem. It also has an Ethereum blockchain, but it also has a lot of L2s and a lot of projects in the Ethereum ecosystem. Here it's BNB Chain ecosystem. So for the testnet as general, you have a faucet where you can receive a testnet BNB for free. So yeah, it is for free. So on the testnet, everything is for free, both like on the BNB Smart Chain and on the rollups. You just need to get the testnet BNB. Usually it is either through the faucet or asking someone from community. Depends how much you need. If you need a lot, then you need to ask on the Discord. If you need just like to try it out, then there are different faucets that you can just in real time provide your wallet, and you'll get populated with the designated amount, and you can do it like every day or every hour, depends on the faucet. Cool. And I think we are on time. So if you have more questions, later on today we'll have another workshop. If you miss, then feel free to add those questions in the Discord channel or anywhere on the forum. We also, let me get back. Yes, so essentially everything will be shared, but we do have a Discord channel, Telegram, Twitter, and also a BNB forum where you can also add more of community proposals, how to change, what you like, what you don't like, and essentially spur the discussion around more technical stuff like how would you see the blockchain grow if you like some features of another blockchain. How would you integrate it into that one? So essentially everything that is like more on the overview on the architecture design stuff, and things like where to get tokens, like this kind of stuff. So this can be easily done through the Discord and the community channels and members who will be happy to facilitate this. Thank you everyone for coming, and thank you everyone for participating in the hackathon. And for those who choose to participate in the second workshop, I'll be waiting you there. Have a great day. Hi everyone, and this is the second workshop that we're going to do about the development of the BNB Greenfield. And in this section, we'll talk about more about the decentralized storage and also about how we're going to all the intrinsics, how it's really built. So when we go back to the BNB chain as a whole, we see that there is a decentralized storage here, decentralized data storage that is connected to the BNB smart chain. And it's connected through the government and also at the layer. And we'll talk about what it means and how it works. And essentially, from our understanding, we need to understand that BNB Greenfield is directly connected to the BNB smart chain. And later we'll see and understand how they both interact with each other. So what is decentralized storage and how is it different from centralized storage or cloud storage? So cloud storage is something that we all know about. Is if we talk about consumer products, it is Dropbox and Google Drive. And if we talk about sort of like B2B kind of stuff, then we are looking into AWS S3 or GCP storage. So essentially what it does, it is a service that is maintained by one or several parties. And the whole thing, the data and the management is maintained is by one, usually governed by one legal entity. It may be executed by different affiliated entities, but as usual, there is a one thing that, like if you talk about if Google shuts down, then the data is gone. If there is some kind of affiliated storage provider shuts down, then maybe you can get the data back. This is why when we talk about decentralization of the data, when we talk about decentralized data or decentralized storage, it's similar to the blockchain application where we know that the data in this particular application is stored by several parties, non-affiliated with each other. And it means that if one fails, then the others still continue to work because they're non-affiliated neither in the same country nor the same legal entity. They're not governed by the same laws. So if there is a war or if there is some kind of natural event, earthquake, then the data can be still recovered even though a few data providers fail. The benefit, of course, is the increased security, reduced downtime, and the scalability. As you can imagine, you can scale it across different entities. And so on the gist of it, how's BNB Greenfield built and what it is? So from the security perspective, it is built on common BFT. This is the next revolution of Tendermint. And it is built on the proof of stake consensus, meaning the validators need to put or delegate a stake, and then this is what it is. If they do something wrong, then this is slashed. From the developer perspective, it is very similar. I would say a subset of AWS CLI. There are still some features that are not fully implemented in the initial version of the Greenfield. As you imagine, AWS CLI is a product of 15 years of development, and to replicate everything would be quite a challenge. But this is something definitely we are looking for more community partners to develop more and more applications to eventually to be feature complete with AWS S3. And even beyond that, because it has the programmability aspect of it. So the goal is to be a superset of AWS S3. And it is sustainable economy because, as we mentioned before, there is a dual billing in terms of payment. The users pay both for the storage and for the traffic. And there are different stakeholders, both which is called storage providers and the blockchain validators. So all of them get incentivized in different ways and for different attributes of the network making and service providing. So this is why it makes it very sustainable compared to any other existing Web3 decentralized storage. And it is built on BNB token, which is a token that serves as a utility token of the whole BNB chain ecosystem of a variety of projects. So it is not connected to any other application. So when we talk about the main innovation of the Greenfield, we first and for all need to understand that it brings the decentralized storage. And it means that with full management. So it means that users can do the management of the data fully on chain in terms of permissioning, in terms of any other application. And this all is governed by the blockchain, both on the BSC and also on the BNB Greenfield. It also provides several interesting features that support this and makes it happen. So anonymous cryptographic-based keys, essentially being able to log into the system, and also being able to create, read, execute the data through the UX to fully own the data. If we talk about the Greenfield as it is and different parties, so we discussed there are storage providers or SP. These store and serve the data, and we can see there are several here, SP1 throughout 3, but naturally the number is unlimited, where the data is being stored and replicated among them. And the Greenfield validator, these are here to the right, and these build the block, the ledger of the Greenfield. As inside you have also payments, so you must have a ledger system. And also what it does, it creates a relayer system between the BNB Smart Chain and the BNB Greenfield. So these two networks are connected by the relayers, and the validators are the one who are facilitating this connection. What they do also is challenging the SPs in terms of data availability. So meaning as these two actors are not connected to each other, they can challenge it, and validator can earn rewards if the challenge fails. In terms of the storage provider, so there are two different types of storage provider. The primary storage provider, and it serves as the gateway for the users. These are this is the entity that user actually interacts with and gets the data. So it gets it directly through from the server of the service provider and not through the blockchain. And there is also a secondary storage provider. And this one is essentially done for the replication purposes. So that if primary storage provider, which is a single one per user, fails, the data is still replicated among other several storage providers, which called secondary storage provider. And in terms of availability and reliability, users can change both primary and secondary storage provider as they wish. So the system itself is fully configurable, and the user's client can pick whatever storage provider they wish, whether it's based on pricing, as service provider can provide their own pricing, or based on service. Essentially, if one service provides a SDD kind of storage and the other is HDD but cheaper, justifiably, then users can choose to have an HDD service and for the lower price. But some users who wish to have more performant disk operation, they would choose an SDD. And so this is how, and naturally, storage providers can provide more services on the application level, whether it is the security enhancement, the encryption. So all this can be supported and provided by the storage providers. If we talk about encryption replication, then if it is based on EC, so erasure coding. So this is a type of replication where each block or object is divided into segments and segments into blocks, and then each block is being uploaded and served to different service provider. It doesn't have to be 6. You can again, the client of the user can define whatever they want and replicate it as they wish, depending on their requirements of how they wish to replicate it. We need to understand that Greenfield was built particularly for Web3 project. So this means that it has to have everything that you expect from the Web3 project already sort of like built in as a feature. And if it starts from the accounting, for instance, the accounting based system is fully compatible with BSC. And what it means that the same address that you have on the BSC, the same is the address that you have on Greenfield. So you don't need to create a new account, as this is your address sort of like replicated automatically to the Greenfield, and you don't need to create new private key. You can access with your private key these two different addresses and transfer the BNB token between two systems. Greenfield is based on the BNB token, the same token that is BNB Smart Chain is based on. So basically, you can transfer it as is between systems through the atomic swap, and the both totally coexist together. In terms of programmability, BSC being EVM compatible, so it means that all the application that is already built and will be built on the BSC have full access to the Greenfield from day one. So they don't need to do anything with it. They just need to add this smart contract or available feature, but they don't need to do somehow extra integration or setup. You just have it out of the box. And this is the beauty of it, essentially, that you don't need to understand anything else around it. You don't need to buy new tokens. You don't need to convert it between different bridges. So this is just out of the box within the same ecosystem, works within the same BNB token. So if you have as a project a vault of BNB token anyway, you can use it as it is and transfer it to the account of the Greenfield, and that's it. As you said before, the security is provided by the common BFT, and it is a proof of stake system. What is important to say that the validators of Greenfield are not the same of the BNB Smart Chain. So these are a new set of validators. So there is no sort of like both competition and possibility of vulnerability, because this is two completely different sets. There may be some validators may choose to be on both networks but this is not the same validators automatically validators of the Greenfield. These needs to be staked for more tokens. So essentially, being two different systems. In terms of storage provider, again, so these are objects that do not have this access, and storage providers are also decentralized. They can be everywhere in the world as long as you have capability to become storage provider. you are welcome to become one on the Greenfield. The same for the governance for the validators. As I said, these are not the same validators as on BSC. So this can be, again, anyone in the world. Because it's not related to DeFi, the stake on the Greenfield is much lower. So as opposed to the BSC, to become validator there, you have to have 10,000 BNB. Here, I believe it is either 2,000 or 1,000, depends on who you want to become. So the stake to enter is much lower. There is the incentivization of the system is much broader in terms that everyone is incentivized in different way. What is the difference between Greenfield BSC testnet and Greenfield testnet? They are currently two different chain IDs. This is just for alpha. So from your perspective, you need to use Greenfield BSC testnet. This is the one that is connected to Greenfield testnet. So eventually there will be BSC testnet that is currently the same as BSC testnet and Greenfield testnet. So Greenfield BSC testnet is sort of like intermediate state where you would that would act as BSC testnet, if this means it makes any sense. So ideally, Greenfield testnet would talk to BSC testnet, but because this has been just deployed, so the Greenfield BSC testnet was created for it. So from your perspective, you need to work with Greenfield BSC testnet and Greenfield testnet. After a few iterations, I guess in a few weeks, Greenfield BSC testnet will be merged with BSC testnet and cease to exist, if this makes sense. If we get back to, so as I mentioned before, the dual billing system makes it that you are paying both for the storage and for the traffic, and this makes that it's very sustainable economy. We talked about this a little bit before, but if you compare Greenfield to other decentralized networks, then essentially what we can see is that it has a proof of challenge protocol, and you can you can fully operate the object, both to delete and to create. And what is more important, it is you can fully program it through the BSC. This is very important and essentially the innovation of the network. In terms of tokenomics, you are using BNB token just as any other BNB chain network, and you don't have to rely on some specific token. That would be it. From the another channel, another slide around it is that we are welcoming a blockchain evangelist, especially that we have created recently so many chains, both on the ZK, on the optimistic BNB, and also on the Greenfield. So there are many opportunities in terms of if you wish to participate in any system in terms of like some kind of domain, then there is a great opportunity for you to represent the network and also to participate in different kind of events. And naturally, you can contact us in any of the social networks to get more details and on any language. Questions? So no. So that would require, imagine if Greenfield data is a 1 gigabyte file or even 1 megabyte. For the smart contract to get the access to read the actual data, it would mean that this data needs to come to the smart contract as a parameter, as an input parameter, and these are generally saved or in the EVM. and it means that you would have to pay for this data. While it is possible, it will be very, very expensive. Absolutely, I will put the document to the event organizers, and they will share in the appropriate channel. So the data is not encrypted by default. You can encrypt it. The data is being read from the system as it has been uploaded. So if you upload it encrypted, then it will be a sort of like you download it the same way as you uploaded it. So the user client manages the encryption, hence it manages the private key, so nobody can touch it and nobody has access to it. This was deliberately done so that not to make security breach on the storage provider aspect. The way the data can be accessed is similar to the AWS CLI. So essentially, there is an endpoint where you would access your storage provider directly, and you would read the data directly through it. The smart contracting would be essentially for managing the data permission and who can read it and who not. Once they can access it directly. So the way you would the way you would monetize the data is that you would provide access to the specific user, and then once that user has accesses the data, you would be able he would have to pay for the data, and then you would get this money. So this would be the flow essentially. But we'll get more on this. This is a very interesting use case, and you'll get more on this on the documentation. On the Greenfield .bnb chain.org, there is already a lot of documentation and a lot of use cases, and we'll make sure like to add all the different use cases in terms of how it works, in terms of diagrams, and in terms the use case and tutorials. I'm not sure you can, but this is an interesting also aspect of it. I think you can do it on the application level, essentially on the smart contract. If you make it available for everyone, eventually someone needs to pay for the traffic. So, but this is something like of the use cases that you can make essentially as a program. This is exactly the use cases that you can develop more as extensions to get more and more feasibility and usability out of the framework. Yes, exactly like this. Just you don't need to have to buy Filecoin token. You can use just BNB token, and you can also directly through the smart contract you can already access the or to create different membership directly through the BNB smart chain. But yes, this is like the simplest case. In phase one, the ownership of like the full ownership is not supported, but this will be available in like sort of V2. But this is something that is planned as a core feature. Currently, you can provide access in terms of read write this kind of stuff. But the ownership, like total ownership to give away everything, currently this is not supported, and this is something in the roadmap. I believe this will be the same as the validator. Naturally, if it is storage based, then you have to have the storage. But in terms of the required software, it doesn't have to have any software. You just download the client and that's it. In terms of hardware, yes, hardware it will be similar to the validator of BSC. It's still we are currently like running tests in the testnet to see at what kind of limits you can put it. But generally, it's just hardware like storage, like hard disk, and naturally the connection like to the internet. As there is not a lot of processing, but rather serving the clients. So it's just more of those. Depends on the volume. In my perspective, the easiest and the most like sort of like the low hanging fruit is Dropbox, as this is exactly what it is. It's very easy to build it with this, as this is storage and you can manage access. The second would be a more advanced use case, I guess, like Google Docs, where you would have again files, but you would also have some kind of interface. I guess you would also can combine it with Dropbox. The second sort of like niche or domain will be the YouTubes and the Spotify's, where you would have some kind of subscription-based model and provide this access to the files, and perhaps CDN, like content distribution network. So this is like more of the simplest cases, but essentially everything at the same level, everything that you used, IPFS, Filecoin, everything of those, this can be directly, and AWS S3, this can be directly used as on the Greenfield. Out of more interesting ones, the one that requires programmability, then essentially any system that works with files, there is a potential for this. So there is no commitment. The billing is on second based. So essentially, if for instance you have 100 megabyte of data, and this costs you, I don't know, 1 million of dollar, then you'll get deducted 1 million of dollar every second until essentially as long as you have money. Thank you very much, and I'll be circulating around the Discord to answer more questions. Thank you for coming.
Hi everyone. So let me share the screen. Okay. So yeah, welcome Web3 builders and hackathon participants. This is the workshop session organized by AWS. Web3 accelerated from hackathon to launch with AWS. My name is Benjamin Hui, and I'm the speaker of today. I'm sure that everyone is very anxious to brainstorm your winning hackathon idea and eager to get your hands dirty and start building. I hope today's session can give you more ideas and save you time while you're developing your own project. And the reasons why we're here, AWS is here, is here at AWS, our mission for Web3 and blockchain is to empower the developers in this space to redefine the internet. And our way of doing this is by helping you to build your own solutions with more effective tools and world-class security. And to achieve this mission, we joined forces with like-minded like BNB Chain, where we are so honored to be your strategic technology partners of the Zero2Hero Hackathon to empower builders like you to turn ideas into reality. And quickly about myself and who I am. As a solutions architect, I focus on fintech and Web3 startups. My goal is to support you in building application on AWS so you can focus on building great products for your customers. Other than what I do in AWS, I also contribute back to the industry I was in, the banking and finance industry. By seminars and reverse mentorship, I bring awareness of blockchain and Web3 back to the traditional financial world. Well, but enough of me. We have a pack full of agenda ahead of us. Firstly, we will go through some time-saving AWS solutions for our top Web3 use cases, where I will provide a lot of links and QR codes for you to reference architecture or step-by-step blocks, so that you can build a solid foundation for your Web3 application. Then after you have a good idea on how to build your MVP, we also want to highlight a few points on the best practice and share success stories of Web3 company on AWS so that you can learn from their successes. And at the end, we will also cover some of the way where AWS can help you launch your Web3 project, where startups can get free resource and expert support from AWS. And today, we won't be able to answer all the live questions at once. We will have, you can ask questions in the Discord channel, and later we will also share some ways for you to communicate with AWS directly. Okay, so let's get started. So we will first go over architectural patterns that enable common Web3 use cases. Again, I have links, a lot of additional content on the slides for you to dive deeper, so you can check out those QR codes and links provided. Before we go deeper, let us think for a moment. What are we trying to ultimately achieve? For our dApp, we need to bridge between the two worlds. Your application code and your data source on one side in a centralized way, and on the other side, we have blockchain data, smart contract, and is in a decentralized manner. To connect both of it, we need a piece of software. We often call it a blockchain client, which allow us to download the data from the network and possibly also submit transaction to it. The reason why we have two worlds is because not all of your applications make sense to put everything on chain. For example, your front-end API layers, commonly you put it in a centralized way. And for something you want to persist in the blockchain, your smart contract, your on-chain data you want to persist, immutable, those kind of stuff you put into the decentralized world. And with this architecture in mind, let's start with the very, very first use case. First, you need to read data from the blockchain. Here we can see a blockchain client in action, which is denoted in the dotted line in the blockchain nodes. It basically bridges your application to your blockchain network of choice. In this case, you will be probably bridging into the BSC. This is a read-only architecture to consume data from blockchain. Here we can use different types of nodes or nodes providers. You can do it on your own, running a client on a virtual machine or containers. That's where the Amazon EC2 works for you. It's a virtual machine. You can put your own blockchain client in it. Or maybe you would like to use third-party providers like Node.io or Infura as well. Other than that, in AWS natively, we have something called Amazon Managed Blockchain. So we call it AMB. AMB serves as our fully managed gateway into the blockchain world, and it provides access to the data from Hyperfabric Ledger and Ethereum. So we have the middle, the bridge, the blockchain nodes. In this setup, the actual centralized application is run on the compute of our choice. On the left-hand side, in the dotted lines, the application. We are making use of a static website hosted on S3 with CloudFront. This is a very typical pattern we see with startups, and it makes it very easy to host web app like static web app like HTML, JavaScript, image, videos for your users, everything put it inside Amazon S3. And with that, you can have a very high level of reliability with almost no IT administration needed. So you don't need to think about hosting your own web server and setting up auto selling on your own. The users can also benefit from the improved customer experience through caching via CloudFront, while access and images are stored cost-effectively in Amazon S3 in one of the regions. With CloudFront, you can accelerate the delivery of this content to a global audience. So in the following presentation, I will use blockchain nodes instead of the free options to abstract different options of basically accessing the nodes. Remember, depends on your requirement. You can choose how to host or access the node client. And if you decide to actively participate the blockchain network by hosting your own blockchain node, maybe your own validator node, hosting it on AWS is actually a very popular choice as well. AWS provides 275 plus instance type to optimize cost and performance to fit your specific node's requirements. And usually, if you want to host a node, you can go into the documentation of how to host a node in different chains. Inside the documentation, they will give a reference EC2 instance type, probably, and a specification for your reference. So with this, leveraging services like Amazon EC2, you can easily host a blockchain node on AWS and delegate it for on-chain activities, includes staking and analytics. So you can see also AWS Nitro Enclave, AWS Key Management Service, AWS Cloud HSM. These are related to handling key materials, which I will talk about this in a later session. So now we have our application and we can read data from the network. Let's say we want to write to the network, or we'll say transact with the network. What should we do? Commonly speaking, you will need, of course, a blockchain account. And with a blockchain account, you will have consists of a public key, which helps you to derive your address, and the secret key, which allows you to sign transaction and other sensitive operations. In a fully decentralized application, typically the users are the one who manage their own accounts and their transactions, meaning that they hold their key materials. However, in this slide that I'm showing, for a certain type of application, it might be desirable for you, the service provider, the application, you will entrust the management of the key materials to an external process or service, such as, well, when the key materials is frequently accessed by automated operations. It is very common requirement for minting on NFT platforms, deposit and withdrawal operation on exchange, or maybe sometimes some GameFi want to lower the entry requirement or for the users. They will hold the key materials for them. This is what we call a custodial mode. And since you are the one in charge of storing this sensitive material, you have to be careful about it. So private key materials must be carefully safeguarded against loss, theft, and malicious attackers. So in this architecture, we see one small addition. So we have the key materials being stored in the AWS Key Management Service, AWS KMS. You can see it as a managed experience of HSM, hardware security modules, with an API on top of it. So KMS can be directly integrated with your applications so that you can leverage HSM level security with abstracted APIs and granular permission control with AWS Identity and Access Management. In this case, your application would actually sign and pay for any occurring fee, such as gas fee. In the slides below, you can see a step-by-step guide on how to create a KMS key, create transactions, sign them using AWS Lambda with KMS key, and submit it via the blockchain nodes. So you can see step-by-step guides on the below links. One of the things when you develop for hackathon or basically Web3 application is you want to focus what matters the most, and you want to accelerate the development speed and reduce the management overhead. Well, with this in mind, you can utilize what we call a serverless architecture, maybe with AWS Serverless Service. The top three use cases that leverage what we call a serverless architecture includes NFT application, minting, leveraging token metadata, setting up marketplaces, and conducting on-chain data analytics. The reference architecture on the bottom right actually shows a sample of how you can build a full-stack serverless NFT application on AWS with 3 tiers. The first tier is the presentation tiers, using S3 and CloudFront. So like I mentioned before, you put your statically host images, videos, and website in an S3, and then you can cache it and use the CDN of CloudFront. Then the second part is the bridge between the front-end applications and the blockchain network. You'll have some compute power there, and you need to submit transaction to the chain, right? So here we use serverless architecture with API gateway, which basically organizes your API, Cognito, which will handle the authentication of it, and Lambda, which is basically the serverless compute engine. And the third part is the smart contract tier, which basically you will implement the NFT specification there. You can actually check out this blog post with a very similar architecture, which mints and deploy NFT with our serverless architecture. So you can, if you are looking to build something similar, you can use this as a solid foundation or understand how each of these components work together. In the prior case, we were talking about custodial. So your application was holding the key to sign and allow transaction on the network. That might make sense in cases where the key is used often or you need to enact on behalf of your customers, such as in staking operations. In more decentralized cases, your customers will be their own custodians, meaning that they will have full ownership of the key. So they will have access to your application, but they will have their own wallet and the keys are within the wallet. In this case, the transaction will be signed off by your user's wallet, and once transacted on the network, the blockchain node can pick up on the new data on the chain. And you, the application, will need to pick up on the new data on the chain, make sense of the incoming data. You will need what we call an event handler in your backend, and its task is to listen to incoming events and send and process them accordingly to your application. So this is what we call a non-custodial architecture. So now we have talked about reading and writing with a custodial and non-custodial mode. What about data analytics? So analytics are always crucial to derive business insight and strategic decision, especially so true in digital asset markets, CeFi and DeFi. And as you encounter needs of editing additional data outside of the blockchain, maybe you want to add multiple sources of data together, maybe you want some social media data, you want some audit data, And storing and managing data using on-chain storage isn't as easy. Maybe you can also think about using off-chain technology. AWS data lakes and analytics solutions make it easier for you to index, manage, and process large volume of data off-chain for downstream analytics and a cost-effective and scalable approach. Here we see an example architecture. Basically, we funnels events from the blockchain to a data lake on S3. So we have an event listener process new data and stream the data into S3 via what we call a Kinesis data file host. So these components all work together, plug and play. You can actually use Kinesis data file host, and you can select the S3 bucket you want it to deliver the data to. So with this, your index data now live within your S3 buckets or data lake. You can use your analysis tool of choice to derive insight out of your data. So in this slide, our analysis tool of choice is Amazon Athena. Athena is actually a serverless interactive query service where you can run SQL and Python to query data on demand. So pay as you go without provisioning analytic engine or EC2 for all of this. So you can facilitate you to have on-the-fly analytics. To see more and have a deep dive on this architecture, you can see the content link below for a guide to store off-chain data in S3 and also deep dive on this particular architecture. Okay, so we have briefly mentioned about securing your key management in the custodial scenarios. And in this session, we will dive a bit deeper. As the key symbolize your ownership and identity in the Web3 world, you must secure it. So the fundamental idea of key management is to secure the key. So even if someone else have access to your VM or your EC2 environment, they are not able to get your key. So just now we've mentioned and introduced AWS KMS. So AWS KMS make it easy for you to create and manage cryptographic keys and control their use across a wide range of AWS services and in your applications. So you do not need to store a private key files in your virtual machine in your EC2. So basically, it is a highly available key management based on managed HSMs. It is pay as you go, and it's managed so that you do not need to handle infrastructure management. In the QR code and link below, you can see a blog on how to sign transaction using AWS KMS. However, I believe some of you might be looking for more. Maybe you're looking for cross-chain, or maybe you want to do MPC. So KMS are a great fit for blockchain that use SAP 256K1 curve, but actually there are some limitations when it comes to low-level tasks and how to manage access to private key. For cases where KMS do not cover, we have something much more flexible, what we call it AWS Nitro Enclaves. So Nitro Enclaves provide a fully isolated compute environment inside an EC2. With this isolated compute environment, it provides you a secure way to load private key materials into an isolated environment where you can execute sensitive operations that require the key materials. So for example, decryption, signing, tokenizing, masking, and MPC. It uses a feature, or the mechanism behind it is to use cryptographic attestation to verify the enclave's identity. And it validates the application code at runtime. So how this works is basically this cryptographic attestation basically means that the application code and the whole runtime environment will generate a hash. Let's say it's called enclave hash. And you can match this hash to an identity. And if the underlying application or the runtime, anything change, the hash would change and the identity change. So it's no longer it. With this hash, you can integrate it with KMS, where it grants permission for decryption operation based on the hash, so that you can make sure that your code or your underlying runtime environment is not changed. To understand it better, I've created this animated flow, the signing flow. First, you have a signing request arrive at the HTTP server component. Then, with this signing request, the HTTP server downloads the encrypted blockchain private key from secret manager, so it's encrypted, and pass it to the signing server running inside of the enclave, along with the signing request payload. So this enclave is isolated. Then, thirdly, the signing server use what we call a KMS2 enclave CLI. It is provided by AWS Nitro system to decrypt the encrypted blockchain private key. Okay. So basically, this KMS2 enclave CLI uses we'll ask KMS to decrypt the encrypted key. It will ask him, KMS, I need to decrypt this. I'm from the enclave. So to prove it that it is actually from the enclave, it will prove it with the enclave hash. We call it the attestation document. Okay, with the attestation document, KMS actually verified it and make sure that your code hasn't changed, your runtime environment is the same. You verify the attestation document, and then it authorizes you to execute the decryption. Then your encrypted blockchain private key will be decrypted. Okay. If you have any decrypt request that is not originated from the enclave, basically you do not have the enclave hash, you do not have the attestation document, it is default rejected by the KMS. And now you have the blockchain key, which is decrypted, so that the signing server finally have the key and it can sign the transaction. And with the signed transaction, it can pass to the HTTP server, and then it can submit the transaction to the blockchain. And after that, you can delete the key. So this is the entire example signing flow of using Nitro Enclave, so that you have a fully isolated environment within EC2 environment for sensitive operation. So AWS Nitro Enclave provides a fully isolated compute environment inside an EC2 instance. It is very important to protect and securely process highly sensitive data, such as the private keys for blockchain operation. It can, in the scenario just now, you can see it communicate with AWS KMS and AWS Secrets Manager via interface VPC endpoints, so that all of this is within your AWS VPC, very secure in your private network, so that your blockchain transactions are both secure and reliable. An example use case like validators for different L1 blockchains can be set up to work with Nitro Enclaves to enhance the security of the validator nodes while running on AWS. Another common application is wallet as a service or custodians. So as they need a secure way to access and manage private key, so they would probably need a flexible solutions like Nitro Enclaves. For the link below and the QR code below, you can see a deep dive on the signing flow I've talked about and explanation of each of the components. It is actually a free part blog, which go into details of how all of this work together. Okay, So we have looked into several common use cases. Read-only, transacting with the network, where either you as the custodians or the users are holding the keys. Of course, we have talked about analytics as well, and also how to secure the key itself. Now, let's tie everything we've learned together and map out what layers are needed to build a Web3 dApp on AWS. To echo the start, you have the centralized application code and data source. You have stuff on chain data and smart contracts. In between, you have a blockchain client. And of course, here's the dApp component, starting with a user. Well, every product needs users. And of course, with users, they will have the personal wallet, which hold keys and access to their assets. Now, let's step by step go through all the layers. Well, start with what the user see, the user interface. So we talk about static website hosting earlier. So with CloudFront and Amazon S3, you can serve even enterprise level traffic at a very low cost with minimal IT administration. You can store your website code, HTML, JavaScript, and assets such as images and videos in S3 and deliver them via CloudFront to improve customer experience. We have the API layer. We have the Amazon API gateway, which organizes your API. And then we have Cognito for authentication. We have off-chain database and analytics solutions if you want to do more off-chain analysis. Of course, to bridge the both worlds, we need blockchain nodes. You can choose to host it on your own, use third-party, or you can use AWS Managed Blockchain. And to receive incoming data, you will need blockchain event synchronizer or event handler. So this is also crucial for you to make sense of the incoming data. And for the sensitive key materials, you will be storing it within AWS KMS or AWS Nitro Enclaves. And last, of course, you have the on-chain data, your smart contract, and your on-chain component. So this is the full picture, which basically sum up the quick start part, the first part of our presentation. Here's the architectures and services that you would use to build a dApp, I would say. With this, I believe you can build a MVP with a kind of solid foundation for a hackathon. So now we come to the second part of our presentation. Now you have an MVP product in mind, you build it, what if you really want to launch it? So here's some of the best practices for your reference so that you can start building for scale and success. So firstly, DevOps. Well, building dApps are, still building applications. So we still need to work on DevOps, and you want to work on different environments during different development lifecycle. And hence, different environments, different blockchain network. For example, for development, you might want to use private blockchain. For staging, you want to use private blockchain or testnet. And for production, of course, you need to push it to the mainnet. Another point is, as records in blockchains are immutable, we'll have to have an upgrade plan in mind before we deploy our contracts. One of a very common pattern we see is actually proxy pattern, where basically you have a proxy contract where within it there's a parameter, an address for the real implementation contract. So when you need to update the contract, you'll update the param and point it to another version of your contract. So basically, you have a proxy contract storing the address of the implementation contract, or what we call the logic layer, as a state variable. So unlike normal contracts, the user doesn't actually send calls directly to the logic layer. Instead, all calls go through the proxy first, and the proxy delegates the call to the logic layer. So during an upgrade, basically the address of the proxy will be pointed to a new implementation contract. And lastly, just want to point out that for customers already familiar with AWS CI/CD pipelines, you can still utilize a code pipeline. So the AWS code pipeline, as it supports popular open source Web3 tooling as well. Okay, next part, scaling. Scaling for the blockchain, for read, we can still use our cloud scaling best practice. Basically, you can horizontally scale blockchain nodes to easily increase your read rate. But for write rates, okay, let's say you are a custodian, you need to run transaction on behalf of your users. So it depends on different blockchains. You probably will face some bottleneck there on the blockchain network write rates. Maybe you face congestions. And at that stage, when you operate at scale, you might need to mitigate this with some workaround. Maybe you want to minimize calls to smart contract. Maybe you want to decouple writes from reading and writing for results. Maybe you want to do it in an asynchronous way. And of course, another option is to consider layer 2 scaling solutions they are basically built to solve this scaling issue. So we have a lot of L2 solutions out there. So speaking of building for scale, I also want to share the story of our dear customer NodeRail, which is also one of our key partners of this Zero2Hero Builder series. So NodeRail is a blockchain infrastructure and service provider that offers one-stop blockchain infrastructure services, including full-fledged node service, blockchain as a service, blockchain application tools, and API marketplace. So NodeRail, with its vision, make your Web3 real, which motivated them to deliver robust performance and reliability for the high throughput requirement on the nodes, basically. The NodeRail leverage AWS designed ARM-based chips. We name it Graviton. So they use Graviton 2 based instances with EC2 and EKS. EKS is our managed Kubernetes service to serve its compute layer. They have also used Amazon Aurora, which is the AWS native relational database that scales across multiple regions, alongside with AWS Global Accelerator to handle global routing to make sure all of its API are consistently fast and low latency. So I have attached a link to this case study, which is published on AWS site. On top of that, I would also suggest you to go ahead and go to NodeRail's blogs. They wrote the blogs on how to build a high-performance node service while maintaining highly reliable and scalable validators. In those kind of blogs, you can see some more testing figures, let's say on latency, and a deep dive on how they use different AWS technology or other technology. So on how they build their auto-scaling mechanism, auto-scaling infrastructure, monitoring, alerting, and automation as well. So good stuff. So now you have an MVP, and now you have a plan to build for scale and success. With AWS, you can leverage us. We can help you along the way while you are launching your project. And one of the keywords that you should remember is AWS Activate. So AWS Activate is a program that are designed to give eligible startups the right mix of tools, free resources, expert support, so that you can succeed with AWS while we optimize for performance, manage risk, and keeping costs under control. Of course, in this program, we'll have AWS promotional credits to minimize your business costs. Well, if you haven't yet taken advantage of this program, you can contact us via this QR code, which is a Telegram group where AWS created for this hackathon. So you can get more details about AWS Activate or in general AWS solutions in this Telegram group. I'll pause for a while so that you guys can scan the QR code. Okay. So like I said in the start, AWS wants to empower Web3 builders to redefine the internet. So first thing, of course, is our infrastructure. So most part of our session, we talk about cloud infrastructure and architecture diagrams. We look at common architectural patterns and solutions. We want to make sure we provide you with the right tool, while at the same time we give you promotional credits if you're in AWS Activate, so that we can minimize your cloud infrastructure costs. Other than that, we can actually go to market together, along with partnerships and via AWS Marketplace. We organize Web3 meetups, and you can join us as well. And third is to improve your visibility. You can leverage AWS to tell your great journey and speak about what you have achieved in AWS. For example, we oftentimes have blogs, case studies, and maybe you can also speak at one of our AWS events. So here's some of the past examples where we work with our dear customer, NodeReal. On the left, we have NodeReal on stage to speak on one of the sessions in AWS Summit. In the middle, it is the case study I've shared previously along the line of our newsletter. On the right is AWS reInvent 2022, where you can actually rewatch it on YouTube. It is our biggest annual customer event, and NodeReal is featured in one of our presentations. We also organize a lot of Web3 meetups for Web3 community buildings. So you can join us for food, for drinks, and you get to meet like-minded startups, VC individuals, and you can meet AWS solutions architect within those meetups as well. And of course, you will see AWS in a lot of different mega events and Web3 matching events, as well as as we facilitate interaction between startups and VCs. Another way our partners can leverage AWS network is to place your product on AWS Marketplace. It is a digital catalog of thousands of software listing on AWS. In fact, you might be able to find some handy listing up here to facilitate your hackathon journey as well. For example, if you're doing analytics, there are some data API in it, or you are trying to deploy different blockchain nodes, you can choose some of those one-click deployment. If you have launched your product and you want additional channel to sell your product, you can list it on AWS Marketplace as well. So wow, we're coming to the end. So before we end, I want to summarize what I've shared. We have covered 3 big topics. First, make use of our time-saving solutions for your solid foundation of your Web3 dApp. We have examples for reading the blockchain, transacting with the chain, analytics, signing, and of course, using Nitro Enclave for secure blockchain key management. Then, as you launch, you want to build for scale and success. You can learn from other successes, or maybe get some of your hackathon idea from our AWS case studies. And if you are a startup, don't forget to join AWS Activate, where we have free resources and experts support to accelerate growth. At last, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us in this Telegram group or in the Discord channel. So thank you everyone for your attention and time, and happy building on BNB Chain and AWS. Thank you. So we will answer questions in the Discord channel and the Telegram group. Thank you, everyone.